Hello, welcome to the Enchanted Circle Podcast, and welcome to our 20th episode. We are a new podcast of three best friends that have known each other since high school that love fantasy books. So here we are doing what we love most, which is obviously reading, theorizing, and having a great time together. From meeting in high school to reading Harry Potter, Twilight, and the Mortal Instruments series, to reading Fourth Wing and ACOTAR, we are deep diving into Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Yay! I'm Carolina. Welcome to episode 20, and we will be covering chapters 12 through 17 today. Welcome to those of you who are new. We did a full recap of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame in our previous episodes, and now we are doing a deep dive and breakdown moving forward, especially right now, of Onyx Storm. Also, if you have any questions or theories you want us to discuss, please let us know. We would love to mention it here.
Hey, it's Bella. How is everybody doing? Just before hopping on, I came across this German movie called Kolfi, and I've been scouring the internet for this movie, and I can't find it anywhere. Guys, this is an enemies to lovers story. So I am on the hunt. After I saw a sneak peek of the tension on the TikTok, I was like, oh my God, I need to know what this is all about. But anyway, thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope you enjoy today's episode.
I'm not sure if you guys are aware, though, but we record our episodes at night after Carolina and myself have put our kids to sleep. Some days it's harder than others, right, Carol?
Yes, today especially. Oh my God, my son has a fever, his first fever ever, and Steph has been hearing me say, oh my God. So it's been a struggle.
It is hard, and sometimes the evenings are just crazy. I run home from work and literally allow myself 30 minutes to rest before I get my booty up and start on dinner. Today's menu, I made some chicken tacos with Mexican rice and guac, which were chef's kiss according to my kids and husband, but also FYI, my husband and I work opposite schedules, which means in the evenings, Mama is on her own. Dinner was done, then the dreaded cleanup again, then the bath, and then story time and teeth brushing, water breaks and prayers and songs all conclude my night. Except for tonight, I get to dive down deep into my current obsession. So thank you for being here and listening to our Onyx rants.
We just have to mention content warnings. There will be spoilers for the entire book of Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, including all of Xaden's POV chapters. If you have not read any of these books and his new POVs, please come back once you do. We wouldn't want to spoil anything for you. We may mention interviews or posts from Rebecca Yarros, so spoilers with that. And this podcast is rated R due to the topics we discuss about this adult book. Also, we tend to curse a lot, so please be aware of children listening. Let's get into it. Chapter summary. Just a reminder, we're doing chapters 12 through 17. So, chapter 12. Zaddy and Violet have a moment, if you know what I mean. Xaden admits he was scared. He almost lost Violet. Xaden yells, shadows fleeing. What in the Shadow Daddy is going on here? Battle within himself? But they will figure it out. Yeah, they will. Violet confronts Xaden about Garrick being a distance wielder. Violet put two and two together. The marked ones may all have second signets. The dragons building their own army. Violet admits she's happy to protect his home, foreshadowing much. Classes are in session, well, except history class. Ironic. Garrick wrote Imogen a letter. Psych. Nope, it's a letter to Violet from Xaden. He channeled, and his pillow smells like her. Aww. Imogen and Violet clarify, quote, every possible path, end quote. Professor Grady wants Ara Ben-Hu to go on this quest squad. Yuck. Where is Violet going with the vial strapped to her? To see Jack looking like Death Barlow? What does Jack have to say? A lot more on that later. Chapter 13. Insert Bestie Ree and Imogen is like, see you later. Violet meets up with the squad and Sawyer is looking all cute or whatever. They head towards the archives. Guess who they went to see? Sawyer's boo thing, Jasenia, which, by the way, the other scribes are picking on our girl. Let's get them. But Violet glares back at these losers and they flinch. The scribes are scared of our girl Violence. Teehee. Jasenia informs Violet, Braddock, Rhiannon, and Sawyer that the venin may be more pervasive than previously thought. She provides 6 books for research. Violet saying, quote, Do you need me to bury bodies? End quote. Okay, violence. Jasenia's like, here are some tombs. Riddick tries to be a smartass, and Jasenia is like, bro, I'm a scribe, not an oracle. Sassy. She also uncovers that during the Second Crovelin uprising, an external isle supported the rebellion, but details are scarce due to missing pages that look to have been ripped out from General Cadeo's journal. Violet believes her late father's research might hold more information, but accessing it will require Dane to betray his father because his journal is secured in her mother's old office. Battle brief time. More venin activity on the map on the path to the hatching grounds. Cadets are assigned reading on venin and informed of upcoming rune intensives in Orisha. It's confirmed that high-level venin possess Signets. Xaden arrives to teach Signets sparring class, but Violet realizes that according to the code of conduct, they can't date. Dang! Dun dun dun.
Chapter 14. So, like Professor Zaddy, but Violet is like, fuck this. This is not good. Not good at all. Let me just run away from my problems and go into my other problems. She needs Dane. Ria's like, sis, is you good? But Vi's like, nah. But again, let's compartmentalize because I ain't got time for this right now. But then Vi's, being our little nerd, recites the code of conduct because homegirl has photogenic memory or some shit. Rhea is confused because she does not have photogenic memory. But Vi makes like Speedy Gonzalez and dips. She catches up to Dane and asks him basically to sneak into her daddy Toe's room because Daddy Sorengale left his super top secret research in there, and the room is now ordered to allow only blood relatives and marriage bonds, which Violet is none of. But Dane is like, I have daddy issues. Let me live my life. LOL, JK. But they're interrupted by Professor Zaddy, who wants some alone time with his naughty student. But Vi is like, babe, no, professor, we can't do this. It is forbidden. XXXXX.
You had me at the naughty student. I was like, no, she did not.
So kinky stuff.
Dane is like, bro, you really took this job, but Professor Zaddy also does not have photogenic memory like Violet and Dane, so he made a little oopsies. Everyone dips, and Zaddy and Vi get their little moment to talk about how Zaddy lost control and channeled, and now he needs to be behind the wards, so he doesn't channel, but like, bro doesn't even know he's doing it. Violet is all like, ruler follower, and Zaddy is like, baby, you are the moon and stars. Let's get some permission to our newly forbidden love, but they get interrupted by stupid toes eater Atos, who literally is such a hater and will stop at nothing to make everyone's life miserable. And now I think he was in love with Varish because he is trying to avenge his death by punishing Xaden and Violet. But you dumbass prick. Violet is like, nah, buddy, be mad at me because that was all me. I was the Varish slayer, so kiss my ass, you dumb prick. Dane is like a knight in shining armor waiting for his bestie, and Boy is like, sis, let's get into some breaking and entering. The next Monday, the Quest Squad Take 1 is meeting, and Captain Grady is dumb because he wants to go north, but he doesn't even have a good reason to. He's wasting our time. Finally, Professor Zaddy arrives. Hey, Daddy. Listens in on their stupid plan, but the plan is so dumb, he's just caressing Violeta with his shadows. Lordy Jesus, get the fire hydrant. Grady thinks he's a boss, so he does what he wants. And finally, when our favorite couple try to get a minute to themselves, or a fucking hater kiss ass bitch slut hangs back to make their lives miserable. Chapter 15. Violet is missing her man because he's been busy working overtime on his new super cool signet wielding class. Violet is definitely drooling while she sits like a star pupil staring at her forbidden love. Zaddy's all like bossy and shit, and I'm like, wow, drooling because hot. And a third year who thinks he's hot shit goes up against our Zaddy, who does not break a sweat, doesn't even take out a weapon, and kicks some ass. Violet is like, BRB, I need to change my panties. And Zaddy is like, I know what this does for you. And Xaden just keeps showing why he is our shadow daddy because he kicks everyone's ass, and even Riddick has her eyes for him along with Kat. But like, sis, it's not gonna happen. Get over it. All the cadets lose because there is only one person capable of taking him down. It's none of the cadets, just his love. One by one, everyone drops like flies. Kat is all upset because she didn't even get on the mat. But Trigger finally shoots his shot, and okay, boys got game. The last to go is the one Weave and Caroline has been waiting for. Violet struts her stuff up to that mat like, don't let me hurt you. Okay, confident. Let's begin.
Chapter 16. Violet and Xaden engage in a sparring session where Xaden emphasizes the importance of Violet detecting his shadows, as she is uniquely capable of neutralizing him if necessary. Later, Violet, Sawyer, and their friends unwind at a bar. Dane has moved on clearly since he was found hitting on a second year at the bar. Finally, thank the Lord. Violet reveals that signets can grow as they learn to hone them, and re-expresses concern for Lynx and Arik, who have not yet manifested their signets and are at risk of exploding, aka blowing up, guts everywhere. And by the way, we learn that one of the cadets, Baylor, has farsight, just like who? Like Liam. And Marin thanks Rhiannon for her family's support, for taking in her two bros, her two brothers, who are now orphans. Very sad. And Rhee's parents are now taking care of them. So it's very sweet. Happy little ending. Recognizing the need for crucial information, Violet decides to trust Dane to retrieve her late father's research from Dane's father's secured quarters, aka General Sorrengail's old office, understanding that there are risks involved. And then in chapter 17, ever since Sloane used her siphoning powers to power the wards using General Sorrengail's power leading to her death, it has been awkward between her and Violet. But she starts to open up a bit more as she tells Violet that she is on archives duty, following in her big bro's footsteps. She secretly gives Violet a black bag with 2 books from Jacinia and 1 from Dane, which is her father's journal. Turns out we can trust Dane after all. She apologizes to Violet for what happened, and Violet, of course, understands. Sloane questions her journey northward to find Andarna's species instructed by Grady, and Violet agrees that it's odd and believes they should go south instead. Violet gets her hands on her dad's journal, but it's locked, and a 6-letter code is needed to unlock it. And surrounding the journal are vials that will destroy the journal if the wrong code is used. Dun, dun, dun. A rune is also noticed on the center of the book to detect any tampering. She finds a password hint from her dad. It's in a small piece of paper tucked neatly within the lock, and it reads, quote, "First love is irreplaceable," end quote. And Arik suggests that it could be Halden, which terrifies her. But anyway, during a sparring class led by Xaden, Prince Halden appears and is impressed with Violet's skills and signet. And he's there to deliver a message, well, to see Violet, but also to deliver a message from Viscount Icarus about securing her a meeting with King Cortland of Devrelli, but only after she retrieves the Amelian citrine from Anka to offer it as a gift to him from Queen Mariah. He also shamelessly flirts with her, which causes Xaden to lose his damn mind, slamming his power into Halden, who flies towards a rock wall.
All right. Chapter 12, guys. So when Xaden breaks away from their kiss and admits to Violet he was scared of almost losing her to Theophany back at Newhall, when Xaden says, quote, "Sigael didn't even tell me. Crawd told Garrick," end quote. I assume Sigael didn't tell him because of how unpredictable he has been lately in terms of his mood. But what else could she be hiding from him? Meaning Sigael. I just feel like the dragons have a lot they're hiding from their riders as well, especially now Xaden being venin. I believe the bond of trust is definitely broken, and there may be a lot of secrets that they're keeping from each other.
Mm-hmm. True.
I just cannot stand the disappointment radiating from Sigael. It feels like the first time I decided to party all night and sleep at my friend's house and not tell my mom. And then the next day I show up with my tail between my legs and my mom is like, "I am livid." But also here's a silent treatment because I am disappointed with you. But you're also my child, so bye. That's how I feel like.
That is literally how she is.
I
perfect
literally
description.
feel like that is Sigael.
Yeah,
That is, my mom is Sigael.
that is Sigael.
Kind of scary too sometimes.
Back to it. So in that scene, I have to note how Xaden's shadows behave in this moment. Violet is like, "Dude, you would have made the same choice," etc. And Xaden responds, quote, "I know that," end quote. But his voice rises, okay? And his shadows don't just jump, they flee, okay? That's what she notices, and Violet notes how different that is. It's as if the shadows are connected to his human part of him, and when Xaden loses control, they are scared of that venin power that consumes him in that moment. I just found it interesting how they behaved here. And when Violet confronts Xaden about Garrick being a distance wielder, and she noticed that the marked ones, more than one, had second signets. Xaden says something interesting here. He says, quote, "Our dragons came looking for us. They knew what they were doing," end quote. Interesting, right? Dragons are doing some sneaky shit. But he continues to say, quote, "More like building their own army. More signets equals more power," end quote. The Empyrean building their own army, there is so much more that I know we do not know about the dragons that hopefully in book 4 we get more info. And Taryn and Sigil definitely hide more shit, and I know it.
No, they're definitely, I agree with you. They're definitely hiding a lot. The Empyrean is hiding a lot. Like, let's remember the fact that Solus knew about Andarna being the 7th breed and kept it from not only his rider, but Taryn, you know? So it is very interesting how the dragons work. I wish we could get like a Taryn POV, you know, where what's going on. Or even in that instance where Andarna breaks the bond and Violet is like comatose, basically. Taryn has his shields down and lets her in on conversations he's having with the Empyrean and all of that. I wish we got to know exactly what he was saying to the Empyrean, like that side of that conversation, like what's going on that point, because he blocks her out a lot more than she blocks him out. So it's quite interesting. I want to say in the Denver tour, Rebecca Yarros said, "What makes you think the dragons are honest? What makes you think they're telling the truth to even their riders? What is the truth? What is the dragon truth?" And I go back to the last episode where I quoted how Fables of the Baron demonize dragons. So I find something like it has to be a little bit interesting here. How did the dragons know that they were relatives of the previous riders? And how does it pertain to only the children of the rebellion? Or is it more than we think? Is it because they wanted to help those in Tyrandor because they knew they were doing the right thing? Did the parents of the marked ones talk to the dragons and have a plan with runes and the dragons?
So Xaden tells her he will use Tyrandor to protect her, but not to make her protect Tyrandor. And she responds, quote, "I've already told you, I'm happy to protect your home," end quote. Foreshadowing, y'all, to the end of this book. Mrs. Ryerson, Duchess of Tyrandor herself, did she say this because they already discussed the plan that they played out at the end of this book? Just something quick I noted here. Violet was thinking how all the classes have resumed to normal, all except one, which is history class, right? Obviously interesting. I wonder what's being discussed behind the scenes about this class. You see how they don't change? They're still trying to hide things, and it's driving me mad. These losers.
Well, at this point, is the truth still being hidden from the civilians? Or is it just the people at Basgiath, you know, that know the truth? Because obviously there was a battle at Basgiath, but what about the civilians? Are they still hiding it from them?
Exactly. Later on in this chapter, or I think it was chapter 13, they said that in battle brief for them to learn about that venin have second signets, it took them 10 days to bring that into battle brief. 10 days. Why did they wait 10 days? So obviously, like, there's something going on with the higher ups.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously.
Commander Panchak is venin. And I'm pretty sure Atos is venin. And I don't know. But
Markham.
Malgreen is given venin.
And Markham too. More on him later.
Yeah, it's just I'm still convinced Daddy Atos signet is like some kind of control.
I don't even see it any other way at this point. I'm like, his signet has to be mind control, because can't forget how Dane literally did not remember touching Violet at a certain point. Like, and he was like shocked, like, wait, what? I did that?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. No, it was a like, wait, I don't remember that kind of situation.
Yeah.
I can't unsee it now.
So,
Enchanted Circle Pod is betting that Daddy Atos' second signet is mind control. We're saying it now. Steph, back to last episode where you mentioned how she said his pillow smelled like her. In the letter he wrote here, he says at the end, quote, "Is it just me or does my pillow smell like you?" End quote. Interesting, right? I think it's so cute, and maybe this is unconfirmed fated mate spawn they have, or it could just be a cute nod to them both that Rebecca put in here. But
Rebecca doesn't do anything just for cutesy sake for like a cute reason. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Okay, I know I'm jumping a little bit here, but this is how we know Andarna and Violet already had their plan in motion, because as Violet is talking to Imogen about finding a cure ASAP, Imogen asks her, quote, "You sure this is how you want to go about it?" End quote. And Violet responds, quote, "Every possible path," end quote, which are the very same words she said to Andarna a few chapters ago. This plan for sure involves Imogen, Violet, and Andarna. And for sure Xaden knows, because Violet told him and she would help him protect his home. Our homeboy knows for sure. So again, another clue to that this whole plan has been in the works since the beginning. Anyway, guys, here's my crazy theories, okay? What if the venin are the henchmen to Malek? What if the venin serve Malek? Reason I say this is because Malek is the god of death, right? And what made me think about this is that when Violet goes to see Jack with Imogen, Violet notes how Jack looks like, quote, death, right, end quote. And it got me thinking, what if venin are the work of Malek himself? And when Jack proposes if he would rather meet Malek instead of helping Violet, Violet responds, quote, "Does your kind meet Malek?" End quote. Okay, and does being emphasized. So it just got me thinking, like, do they worship the god of death? Or the venin dedicate themselves, like, do they technically, quote unquote, dedicate themselves to Malek? It's just something I thought about.
That is very interesting. But not to contradict you, Violet may be some sort of like half venin person, and that is why in Iron Flame, Malek sent Liam over while she was being tortured. Because why would he say like he really did send Liam there? Why would he do that for Violet? You know,
that's true.
I think that there's definitely a connection with the gods and with the dragons and the griffins, because we still don't really know a lot about the history of this whole place, of this whole world, and how it all came to be, really.
In a lot of fantasy worlds, they'll talk about the gods, right, that they believe in. And sometimes they say like the gods abandoned us, or the gods were here, or the gods left, or the gods this, and that's why they either believe or they don't believe. How do the gods come into play in this world? The magic of them. I know there's people get dedicated to gods. We saw the dedication, the priestess that were dedicated to June. How does that? And they had powers, right? They say they have like foresight, right? Not foresight. They have precognition, right? Because they say that Violet's future is still not set. So there is some magical aspect when you get dedicated to a god. Theophany says that it's the very thing that makes her kind of something more, right? The dedication to Dune. So
Right.
There has to be like this weird magical aspect with the gods and the connections to the humans.
I agree with you. Definitely. It just goes to show again, like, how much we don't know either, right? Like from Rebecca's world and what she created. So we'll see. Just the thought I had, I was like, oh my God, do they dedicate this? Because since we get a little bit of like what dedication is, even though sometimes I fully don't 100% grasp it, I'm just like, oh, could they dedicate themselves to Malek? So I was like all hype about this. But
it is a really good theory. I think it's just, we don't know anything.
So back to the first question she had for Jack was, quote, "Can you sense each other?" End quote, which we know the answer because of Xaden, obviously. But I found it interesting here when he says, quote, "Initiates, Asims were all traceable to one another, but the Great Hall could fill with sages and mavens, and I'd never know. Neither would you." Makes you wonder who's been channeling here for years, doesn't it? Who's been trading information for power, end quote. Bella, maybe you're not too far off. Can sages and mavens change their appearance? I remember you saying Markham could be a maven, but maybe he's higher up and he could have some sort of glamour. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm still with that. I think that maybe a rune, maybe like an advanced rune, could like change someone's appearance.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Very interesting how he says makes you wonder who's been channeling here for years, because it goes to show that he knows something. And remember at the end of the book, they're like, he knows too much. Like, he knows something.
Here we go. Second question about channeling and if it's taught. right? Jack says to Violet, quote, "Power shouldn't be accessible to everyone strong enough to wield it, not just who they see fit. You conveniently see me as the villain, but you're bonded to two," end quote. He obviously is talking about the dragons. So there are a lot of things here that are pointing to the dragons not being so trustworthy, quote unquote, right? So one, this sentence right here, and how Violet is bonded to, quote, two, right? And number two, dragons can channel from the earth as well. And number three, they seek out marked ones or those that their previous writers have bonded to, quote, build their own army, end quote. Rebecca's kind of leaning us towards there's some type of mistrust with the dragons. I'm not attacking Taryn and Darna at all. I'm just saying as an example, because, you know, we do love them. Even when they hid information from Violet about everything that was going on with the venin and what Xaden was doing right in Fourth Wing. So it just goes to show, like, slowly she's been saying, hey, the dragons are not, you know, 100% trustworthy either. And there was an interview where she did say that they possibly, who said that that's their real name, right?
Right.
So it's very interesting how she's building this up to, like, I feel like there's some type of big betrayal, not necessarily meaning Taryn or Darna, or maybe it could be, but something with the dragons, they're going to have some type of betrayal because it's
I 100% agree. It goes back, like, bringing back the gods. Like, we don't know anything about how that pertains to this world. The Empyrean is a freaking secret. We are on book 3. This series is called the Empyrean series, and we still don't know anything about the Empyrean. Like, we don't know what they are truly after, and they keep so many secrets. Like, I don't understand still why Tarrant won't tell Violet or talk about Naolan, right? What are you hiding from Violet with Naolan? Like, there is something there. He is so touchy about it. So,
crazy theory here. Okay, this is beyond Mad Woman theory at this point. I don't even know. But did the dragons kill off all their previous writers to have a, quote, clean slate, end quote? Okay. In my head, it's like those humans that they were bonded to before probably were like, no, what are you guys trying to do? This is not right. And they're just like, you know what? Oh, you're not listening? Bam.
Yo, I actually love that theory.
Yeah, I like this theory too. I like this theory a lot.
That's so creative, Carol. I wish that was actually, I hope that's really cool.
Fables of the Barons demonize dragons. For why? Legends come from truth. Fables come from truth. So there's so many secrets. Everybody's keeping secrets.
Chapter 13, guys. So in the epigraph, it's mentioned that Jasenia has, quote, failed 3 exams, right? End quote. And is removed from the adept path and stripped of all her responsibilities, right? And guess who decided to do this? His little stupid ass name is at the bottom of this freaking paragraph. Markham's loser ass. And he shifted that responsibility to Professor Grady, side eye. Markham is a huge villain here. I think he's going to come into bigger play definitely soon. Just wanted to say that little tidbit there. But moving on. I love how the squad is teasing Violet here about Xaden and her bickering like they're a married 50-year-old couple. And I find it such a lighthearted moment. You know, we don't get a lot of lighthearted moments in this book except for Riddick. But another foreshadowing to their marriage at the end. Oh, I love it. Okay, sorry, moving on. But can we talk about how the scribes are treating Jasenia? Can we jump them? Markham has them all brainwashed.
So annoying.
He knows that she is transcribing the truth. That is not what he wants. He doesn't want record of the truth. He wants what he's been putting out.
Mm-hmm. Can we call him like Captain Barfum?
I love you, Bella. Captain Barfum.
Captain Barfum.
It's confirmed here in Battle Brief that venin do possess signets similar to riders. Violet notes that it took them 10 days, like I said earlier in this episode. It took them 10 days to confirm this. Why is it taking so many days? Because, I could tell you why, it probably has to run through Markham. Was Markham reluctant to release this information because he's part of the venin and he just had no choice but to?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
100%. And they probably twisted the truth in some way or another also.
I find it funny that now, in the face of danger, Bezgayev is like, oh, you know what? We need everyone alive, so no more killing on the mat. This school is so twisted.
Oh my God, there was a part when Justinia said that she found out that Violet might get 2 signets because of something she read about Irids bonding to a writer born of a scribe and writer. I got so excited, and I forgot that she was just joking, but I was so excited, and I was gonna be like, oh my God, guys, she's gonna get 2 signets. Then when she was like, it was a joke, I was like, oh my God.
So
like,
you and Riddock would have just like been excited together, just like, yes.
I never felt more connected with Riddock, like ever. Like Justinia
You
got
two
jokes.
would be a couple. You two would be a couple in the book.
You know what? He cute.
Oh,
Listen, from now on, I'm gonna call Justinia Jokey Justinia. Okay,
I love
Miss Jokey Pants. She got me.
Bella, you're
I was so upset.
Bella,
I was
I'm
like,
so
no.
good. Chapter 14. Shit. Our favorite couple is a forbidden trope. Professor, student, man in power, girl overcome with how hot her professor is and wants to get private lessons.
with the naughty student.
I love it. Nah, but for real, guys. Quote, Article 7, Section 1, Code of Conduct, end quote. No teacher/student relationships are allowed. Violet is so visibly upset, even though Xaden, through the bond, says, quote, absolutely not, end quote. In public, they can no longer be together as a couple. My thoughts, though, is that leadership knew that they were together, so why would it be an issue? It's not like it was a secret before. Did they really just expect for them to break up just because he's a professor now? I think this kind of silly. They break so many rules, and yet this one is a hard limit for Violet. Girl.
Oh, police.
Oh, please.
Oh, please.
Violet rushes out because girl is distraught and goes to find Dane to ask him for a huge favor, aka please break into your dad's room and get my dad's research without your dad knowing. And I know he disowned you, but he won't give it to me. He will probably keep it, and it's a lot to ask of you, but can you just go against your dad for me one more time? Okay, she didn't say that.
Dang.
But like, you guys catch my drift, right? She asks a lot of Dane sometimes. I know they're best friends and they have a lot of history, but sometimes it's just like, girl, you're asking a lot of him. Not only is he like always down for you, he made mistakes, but he's having a hard time with his dad. And in this part in particular, she notes like how it breaks him that his dad basically disowned him.
I mean, I agree with you. We have to remind ourselves like what Dane is going through. Like Dane's dad is literally all he knew for his entire life.
Right. And where is his mom? Does
Right.
he have a mom? Is she dead? Did she abandon him? Is she alive? Is she a venin?
And he
I
just
don't
has his
know.
dad.
He just has his dad. Because even when Violet talks about Dane in the beginning of Fourth Wing, she says that they were always stationed together, but there's no mom. You know, there's no mom really mentioned, no siblings mentioned. Like, is he an only child? I don't know. I'm a Dane sympathizer, guys. And especially now I'm a slaying girl.
Ay.
Ooh,
Ay.
I agree, though. Some toes would definitely not hand over her dad's research like ever. He wanted it back in Fourth Wing, and he definitely would want it if he finds out. Professor Zaddy arrives, and I bet he has a lot to teach me.
Ay.
But for real, Violet reminds him they cannot be together anymore due to the Codex. But Professor Zaddy, it just has such a nice ring to it. That's his name from here on out. Says, nonsense, baby. Quote, I live by you. When have I ever given a fuck about the Codex or the Code of Conduct? I am yours and you are mine, and there's no law or rule in this world or the next that will change that. But Professor Zaddy is the solution because our baby dad lost control on the front, and being a professor at Bezgayev will keep him from channeling. He won't be sent off to the front where there is no words to protect him from channeling. He didn't even know what he was doing. Listen, guys, not to play devil's advocate for the venin, but I imagine that not all of them are evil. Listen to me, guys. I know. Don't hate me. But like, what if they didn't know they were channeling and kept channeling, and it just got worse and worse until their souls were gone? Becoming venin comes from the need for more power. And in war, sometimes that power or the signets they have won't save them. So what if they channeled to save themselves or save others like Xaden did? I don't know, guys, but are they all truly evil? What made the first brother worthy of dragons, the second worthy of griffins, and the third, why was he unworthy? These are the kind of thoughts that keep me up at night. It got me all fucked up. Because am I sympathizing for the enemy just because I'm empathetic? Or is there more to the story? Or are they just evil? Going back earlier, Carolina, like Jack said earlier, we see them as the villain. But Violet has 2 dragons. And why do some people get a dragon? Why do some people get a griffin? And what about everybody else? I know obviously Jack is fucking nuts and psychotic and crazy, but like we see him not like he wasn't evil in like Iron Flame, like evil, right? Like he saved Violet. Once he noticed it was her, he could have let her go. He saved her.
That part still like confuses the crap out of me.
It confuses me. And
no,
not only
it's not adding up.
It's not adding up. And then when Xaden goes to him at, you know, in the end of Iron Flame, he's like, you need to stay away from her or, you know, you're going to channel from her. And why is he warning him when he could just be like, yo, take that fucking power, yo, kill her ass. Again.
In that same talk with Jack, he said something about mending, and that was italicized too. Like, he's like, oh, all the questioning and all the mending they do to me. There is something with the menders that we don't know either, that I feel like we haven't been introduced that affects the venin somehow. Because why are they constantly mending Jack? If not for a reason. And obviously it had some type of effect on him in Iron Flame. So there's something we don't know yet. For sure.
Anyway, the hope that Commander Panchak will grant them an exemption goes out in flame rather quickly as 8 fucking gnarly toes comes in and tells them no, just because he's a fucking hater and blames Xaden for killing Varish and ruining Biscayeth. Alas, Xaden is like, not to worry, baby girl, we'll just be sneaky links. But not before Violet comes for Ato's throat. Quote, just so you know who to hate, Xaden didn't kill Varish. I did. End quote. Violeta, Duchess of Terrandor, Ryerson, baddest bitch in the land.
And let's say her full name with her chest, right? Violeta Sorengale Ryerson.
Whoa. Dane, who is waiting in a shadowy archway. I don't know. Every time we talk about shadows, I have to be like, shadows.
I know. Like, I have to hyperfixate on the words. Like, what are they doing now? Huh?
Shadow. It's just kind of a little bit sus because why did he stay? You know, he was leaving before he was like on his way out with Bodhi. What was he waiting for? Did he see his dad go in and he was just waiting around for Vi? I don't know. This mind little power signet that he has, like, why are you there?
And
what
remember,
are you doing here?
I know Dane has a second signet without a doubt. He has to have one. There's no way in my mind he doesn't have one, and I wonder what it is. If we get another Shadow Daddy, I think I'm a faint.
What if Dane is a brother Xaden is talking about? I made this connection, and I don't know if it means anything, but in Fourth Wing, when Xaden reads Vi's intentions, she always says, quote, ice prickles my scalp, end quote. And when Xaden is venin or he loses control, she says he gets a cold look in his eyes, or she tells him to, quote, get off the ice, end quote. Listen, I don't know what that means, but I feel like it's an interesting connection. When he like is reading her intentions, she mentions ice. And when he's venin completely, she mentions ice.
I love that you caught right there. That went over my head. I love that.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just had to point it out because I was just thinking about it. I'm like, she always talks about when he was reading her intentions, how ice prickles her scalp. And later on, she keeps telling him, get off the ice, come back to me. So that connection was weird. It was interesting. And I feel like I had to bring it up. While everyone is in this room arguing where to go, this fine bitch is a fucking hater because she's out trying to make Violet's life miserable and does not let our lovebirds meet for even a second. She's such a fucking hater.
Oh, Aura Benhu.
Yeah, I wish Violet would have fucking torched her ass, given her some lightning power to make her electrify herself. Chapter 15. Unfortunately for Violet, she has not been given one opportunity to see Xaden. And Xaden is keeping her out by shielding so fiercely. It makes me think he's also planning and scheming. I mean, obviously we know that, but why you like have your shields up so much, boy?
What you hiding?
Can't see your baby girl.
What you hiding?
What you hiding? What's your secrets?
This is the We Don't Trust Anyone podcast.
Literally. As I step into Professor Zaddy Ryerson's amphitheater, I am amazed at the wards Xaden has put. Not only is it weather protected, but Violet notes that there's other wards in place. Xaden's been working hard, just like Violet, who doesn't spend a moment not researching for a cure and trying to perfect her signet. We note that a lot of the first years still have not received their signet, which is interesting. A cocky cadet thinks he can take on our Zaddy, but he cannot. So Zaddy shows us just how lethal that body is. And Lord, does Xaden know it too, because he tells Vi he knows how much she likes watching him on the mat. So that time in Fourth Wing with the shirt off and Garrett, it was intentional. Lauren, the cadet, goes again, but Xaden asks he wield, and while holding Vi's eye, one small shadow from Lauren's blade and one small finger fucking lift, and the shadow chokes out Lauren. Guys, holy shit.
He's unhinged.
It's like insane. I don't get how Berwin was able to get Xaden all wrapped up in the end of Iron Flame. He waited until Xaden was near burnout when he didn't have much left to give and used it to his advantage. If this is what he can do with a simple shadow from a sword and a damn finger lift, even Riddock is scared and turned on. Lauren obviously failed because he is dumb, and Professor Zaddy showed him, and he shows everyone else too. Quote, point made, I never need to draw a weapon because I am the weapon. I'm just good with blades for the fun of it. End quote. The fucking heat is on blast because damn. Now, Arik asks an interesting question. He asks, quote, and you're going to teach us how to defeat you? End quote. Rebecca Yarros has told us his signet manifested before he really realized what was going on. Did Arik know about Xaden being venin, or he had some kind of inkling? But Xaden replies, quote, I can teach you to try, but there's only one person capable of taking me down one day. And it isn't you, Great Castle. End quote. What do you guys think? Do you guys find that like interesting as I find it interesting?
I 100% agree with you. And I think Arik, I don't know if he fully understood here, but I think he has like an idea like, wait, is Xaden venin? Am I dreaming? Am I, obviously we don't know how his signet works.
Maybe after this,
you're onto something.
Right. Maybe after this instance, like when Xaden reads Arik's intentions, maybe this is when he's like, wait, we got to buddy up. Like, you know about me, or I know about you. Like, let's buddy up. Let's make a plan.
I was just literally going to say that. I was like, but I think Xaden read his intentions here. He knows Arik is a precog. So I think for sure this is probably the moment like, wait, I know something. You know something. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Going back to that quote that I just said also, Zaddy wants Violet to hurt him if she has to, which sad. Kat, though, looks devastated at not getting near Xaden, but Traeger finally speaks up for his feelings for her. Yes, Traeger, but also RIP Traeger. You were perfect for her.
But it's that whole thing. I was so happy for Kat. I need to talk about that. I was so happy for her. I was like, yes, finally, she's moving on. When he died, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my God.
He's going to be a villain again.
I have to give it to Rebecca because she really made the character of Kat go from being like fucking annoying, everybody hated her, to now being like, wait, we're rooting for you, girl.
Yes, I'm one of those people. I hated Kat in Iron Flame. I could not stand her. And in this book, it's so crazy how I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad for you. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah.
Finally, it's Violetta's turn. And to quote Caroline, quote, now this is what I've been waiting to see. End quote. Me too, sis. Me fucking too.
Chapter 16. Xaden envelops her in his shadows, and she notes that her left arm heats. She notices that it's much easier to strike than trickle. So while she's with Xaden, right, in this whole thing, Violet can't see shit. So Xaden tells her to track him down using their mental pathway. Clever, and also very hot. We see how this has proved useful at the end when she faced him after he channeled and became big baddie Zaddy. She was able to sense him at some point, and she claims it's cheating, but he said, quote, it's using every tool at your disposal, end quote, which I totally agree with. Work smarter, not harder. He says something here that I believe will be important down the road, either literally or metaphorically. But he says, quote, I can wield anything that casts a shadow, but no one knows the strongest threads are always my own. If you can sort through them, feel their difference, you'll be able to track where I am in the darkness.
He's trying to direct her which shadow is like the core of his power, which is the one closest to him.
Yeah. That's how I saw it too, like initially. Mm-hmm. But then I'm thinking to myself, it's a foreshadow that in the midst of darkness, he wants Violet to find him.
And that's beautiful.
Yes.
And he's like become this big bad venin. Like, I hope you could find me in the darkness and pull me out kind of thing.
After all that, she asked him, quote, why only me? End quote. And we remember this from the little excerpt. This was a scene from the excerpt where she asked him, why is she the only one who needs to know how to find him? To which he replies, quote, because you're the only one capable of killing me, end quote. Ladies, what are your thoughts on this?
Just think, because she's the most powerful rider in the quadrant. She's the baddest bitch in the land. Like, it's Violet Soaringen. Like,
also, she's the only person that can get him off the ice. She's the only person that can reel him in, or is his connection to his humanity. I mean, it's the only connection, he has at the end of this book. The only connection to his humanity is his love for Violet. Violet's gonna have to wield against him. So he's teaching her how to find him in the darkness when he's gone, when he's not himself, when he's on the ice. He's preparing her, basically.
Yeah, like, because she's his greatest weakness, right? Traeger notes, quote, your temples for Malek and Dune are disproportionately large compared to the other gods here, except Amari, of course, end quote. Malek is the god of death, and Dune is the goddess of strength and war, and Amari, the queen of the gods. I think Sawyer does say that it depends on the region. So, and obviously, like, Biscayeth being a war college and stuff makes sense to have those gods disproportionately bigger. I find it interesting that Violet reveals here that her mom was not religious, but yet she spent most of her worship time for Amari. More so later for Malek after her dad died, but she does admit that it was more of yelling than praying.
It brings me back to all these times where when Malek is brought up, she's like, oh, he doesn't want me, or, I have things to tell him, or she's always like kind of angry with Malek. And I think it's just an interesting way she talks about that particular god.
Chapter 17. The quote here is, the brightest light, I meant to prepare you, but only had time for half the lessons you need. Half the history, half the truth, and now time runs short. I failed Brennan the day I watched him walk the parapet. Failed Mira when I would not stop her from following, but I fear my death will fail you. Your mother and I trust no one, and neither can you. Recovered correspondence of Lieutenant Colonel Asher Sorrengail to Violet Sorrengail. So, in the beginning of the chapter, the death scroll is being read. Unfortunately, they lost Ryder from him losing his seat during maneuvers. Like, Guys, how crazy is their life? One day they are badass riders, relieved to finally make it through and survive threshing, and then war at the college, only to die during class.
But also
Wild.
interesting to know how this particular rider fell from his seat, but how many times did Violet fall from her seat or others fall from their seats and their dragon saved them? Like, why didn't this dragon want to save
Maybe he
this
tried.
particular rider? I'm feeling weird against the dragons now.
No trust. No trust no more. But you know what? They need parachutes, okay? Like, after you become a rider, you are entitled to a parachute. Like, they're not that much in the olden days, right? Like, it's not like super medieval.
I don't know what kind of days there are here, but it's not modern time. There's no technology.
Yeah, that's true. But they need parachutes. When Sloane was giving Violet the books from Jacinia, I felt really bad for her. Just like because the burden she carries for Violet's mom's death and being in possession of a signet that closely resembles what venin can do. But I'm curious to know what you ladies think about why she manifested this particular signet, since it's connected with who the writer is at their core or what they need the most. What do you think this says about Sloane?
That's a good question. I don't know, because I feel like I don't know Sloane as well as I would like to be able to answer that question. But just hashtag slain, I think in this fated mate's world that she became a siphon to channel whatever big ass power that Daddy Dane has. Just a crazy theory.
She saw her parents be killed. She was separated from her brother. She comes to Biscayeth. She sucks at fighting. She had no training in that. And like from that, what do we gather from that, right? She needs to take power to kind of like become powerful. I don't know. Is that weird?
No, it makes sense.
She had to take the bull by the horns and become powerful in a different way, not in a, good fighter kind of way, but in a just as powerful way, but with her signet, like her signet where she can siphon power.
She's been vulnerable her entire life, right? Being powerless, like Violet even, but like being vulnerable and not having control over situations that happen in her life and things like that. Like, this could be a way of, she wants that power. I found it very interesting. When they're having their sparring match, Riddick comments about Imogen loving class today because Garrick is assisting Xaden, which reminded me that there was barely any emphasis on their relationship in this book. Like, it was like something was happening and then it just fizzled. But I'm assuming it's because there was a lot of drama as is between Xaden and Violet's relationship. Many challenges to overcome, that there was no room for another hot and heavy romance. But that just means Rebecca is going to make it count. She is plotting that tension. So people, don't worry. Guys, by the way, they're flirting mind banter.
I have a question, though. When Xaden says here, a certain hazel eye writer kept me up last night talking, does that mean like they were talking through the bond? Because obviously they weren't together. So how were they talking?
Oh.
Because he says, which I didn't mind since my bed is too cold without you physically in it. So how are they? If he's in the professor's quarters and she's in the second year quarters, how can they talk?
I mean, I guess
there's no cell phones. They're not texting.
They're
well, as that I'm like hyperfixating on this. Like, who? Like, how?
Like, they're talking in their minds through the power, the bond.
This bond goes way too far.
And probably...
it reminds me that one of the other mated dragons, they can also talk long distances. And then Violet asks Taryn and Sigale when they will be able to do it. And they're like, not for many, many years. Is this mind connection between Violet and Xaden going to only grow?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what's happening.
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
Interesante.
Or this could be the extent of her dream-walking powers.
Also, Violet is cocky as fuck. She's like, boy, I can make you go to sleep. I can knock you out. I can
I love this new confidence she has.
It brings me back. I'm sorry to bring Dane in, but like in Fourth Wing, in the beginning when she sees him and goes up to his room to wrap her knee, he's like, I'm glad time hasn't, shortened your tongue or something like that. And she's like, well, I could do a lot of things with my tongue. Like, homegirl was getting down with the fucking get down. She was getting down. And Dana's all like, ooh, girl. So she was like, she's a little naughty girl. She's a little confident girl.
Yeah, she's feisty. And also, like, I was just so disappointed with Halden. Gosh, man, like, I wanted that love triangle action. I know we joke about liking the toxic shadow daddies, but Halden is not the good toxic that we like. He's the toxic. Cheated on Violet, and he is so clearly full of himself.
It's interesting. One, he was like a cheater, but he says to Violet he wants to make it up to her. He's, you never let me apologize. I want to make it up to you. It's so gross.
Yeah.
And obviously I think in also a way, I think he did have true feelings for her because she mentions how he's studying her face and like looking intently at her. And I think that, yes, maybe he had deeper feelings for her and he got scared because he was a little bitch boy.
Yeah.
Ran away from the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
He self-sabotaged.
He did. Yeah. Like, he said that it was like the grief that made him do what he did, but we know that was just an excuse.
If he really cared for her, he could have tried to find her or talk to her or whatever. He's like freaking prince. He's the heir to the throne.
There you go. Could have done. Ladies and gents, listen, if they wanted to, they would.
100%. Also, respect to Violet for being like, oh hell nah, like, goodbye, peace, bye, see you never.
Because she knows.
Done. I know my worth. She has respect for herself.
Towards the end of the chapter, we discover a deeper layer of the bond between riders and dragons, as Holden says, quote, "Who's ever dated a rider knows their first priority, their first love, is their dragon."
They're very dependent on their dragon. Like, they can't live after they're bonded without their dragon. So
it's a special bond.
Of course, like, that bond has to come first because you don't want to die.
Yeah. And it just
like,
goes
they're
to show.
They're in your mind. They're in your head. They, like, are with you all.
They're part of you.
They're part of you.
Yeah. So that's why in the end we see that even though in Darna the bond was severed between Violet and Andarna, like, Andarna still shows up after, because it's like once that bond happens, even if it breaks, a deeper connection that can't be broken.
Yeah. Agreed.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. We hope you enjoyed our episode, and we are so grateful for everyone listening, and we are excited to finally be discussing Onyx Storm. We will be posting a new episode every Tuesday.
Thank you for joining us tonight. So excited to get into these chapters. It's going to get crazy. Hope you guys have a great week.
Thanks for being here with us wherever you are on this planet. We are just your local trio of best friends, enjoying each other's company and talking about what they love the most, books. This podcast is so much fun to make when you have the best girls doing it with you. Remember to follow us on @Enchanted Circle Pod on Insta and TikTok, and follow/subscribe to our podcast channel on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. Until next time on the Enchanted Circle Pod.